budget is $8,000.
Yeah.
And my vision is XYZ. What can you do?
Sometimes the cheapest vendor may not be the
best.
best vendor
Yeah.
for your event.
Because I just face my banners and I'm like, you brought me this client. You deal with it.
Budget is not just about the line item. It's also about the value that vendor is bringing to the table.
What are the three most important areas that we have to focus on first before we start putting other elements in place?
There's even a setup fee.
Yeah.
Because I can bring the chairs to your hall and drop it. But I'm not going to set it up.
Especially in the last 2 years, I've Ubered couples. Welcome to another episode of Inside Events Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about money. Hey, money.
Yes, so.
Money.
Are you planning on giving me money today?
No, budget.
Okay, so you need to be specific.
Appropriately.
So I thought you were giving me money. That's why I was wondering.
See me in the other room.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
So people, how to budget for your wedding or events. Things you have to consider that are very important beyond the flowers and the decor. All right, let's roll.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. About 40% or maybe 50% might go into venue and catering.
If you put a whole 40 and 50%.
But realistically, think about it.
And venue.
Yes.
I'm lumping them together. I'm not separating them. Or we should separate
I
it.
remember when I did my courses, they had said about 40%.
40 to 50%.
40 to 50 for venue, because venue usually wouldn't
Provide the food. Okay, that's the way. That's why I said venue. And
honestly, what I'm seeing lately, with everything that is going on, I think if you put 50% on just venue, you don't have money left.
I said venue and catering combined
together.
So it could be the venue and then you have outside catering, or venue that is doing the catering.
Providing the catering.
Yes.
Okay, but let me let you break it down. You break it down.
Right now, honestly, 40 will be max, in my opinion. And the reason is because you still have to factor, because right now, especially Gen Z couples,
Yes.
what's most important to them? Some of them, it is their photography.
True.
And some people, it's the food,
Yeah. And
So-
content.
and content creation. So there's so many things now. Unlike 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when we got into the industry, and it was just 5 or 7 touch points.
Yes.
Food, drinks, venue, decor, photography, that's it. But now you're talking content creation, you're talking so many details. Even the experience. Now people are big on experiences, right?
Yes.
So again, again, for me, I think 40% would be like my max of your overall budget. So if you're looking at a venue right now that is already going to cost you 50K, and your overall wedding budget is 70K.
It's not realistic. It's not a realistic.
Because you're not giving yourself room to work with.
Correct.
And then another thing that is like, when clients are thinking about their budget, I like to tell them what are the three most important areas that we have to focus on first before we start putting other elements in place. And what are all the elements? Because sometimes you can say entertainment and think just DJ. No, it could be like maybe a performance, somebody swinging up on the ceiling, which requires some rigging. So those are the things that you need to have now, like subtitles.
Right.
Everything has like a subtitles now. So what does that look like in the overall budget?
Correct.
So I always say, what are the three most important things that it's a must? What is a must? What is a want?
Nice to have.
I usually say what a want, because when you say nice to have, is like, it's still, what is a want? It's a want. It's not a need.
I have a question for you as a planner.
Yes.
So when your couples come to you with their budget,
Yes.
does that include their personal things such as their outfits, their hair and makeup?
I ask right away, because if it doesn't, then what is that budget for? And what does that look like? But if they're saying it does, I literally cut that in right away, that you will spend approximately this much in your personal stuff.
Right.
So do you want to include it in the budget? Another thing that I always ask, is a planner fee in that budget as well?
That's a big one.
Yes. So those are the things that people really have to think about and say, because if they've hired a planner and then they now give you the budget, sometimes they haven't thought that, oh, it's entwined or it's separate. So those are the things that you as a client need to think about as part of your budget, overall budget.
Correct.
So and then your guest count affects your overall budget as well.
Right.
So that's another. So, but everybody, I think their priority is different as to what they see as important. Some people say decor. People say decor maybe 2, ambient, and decor 1, food 2, and music maybe music 2. Whatever order it is, that is what I focus on first. Then we put all the other items in place because I want to make sure that we achieve what they need for their wants.
Got it.
Because I'm only asking for 3.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. So I do it a little differently. However, it's also, I do ask that question about what's most important. And the reason I ask is if I need to cut something, I know that, okay, these 3 things, I can't touch it because they're very important to you, you know? And then also for us, your outfits, your jewelry is not part of my budget. Your range is not part. So you've got to know what that just carve that out. Yeah. Okay. So if mommy and daddy are sponsoring the wedding and they're giving you $100,000, just know that the number you're telling me is what you want as your budget is to produce the wedding. So how much is it going to cost for me to host your number of guests, decorate the space nicely, feed your guests, have liquor, have the experiences, all that stuff. Of course, photography and everything else in there, but not your personal items. So again, separate the 2, guys.
And I think sometimes people put it the personal because they want to keep track of it. So you can just make it as a tracking sheet for them to actually know what they're actually, how much they're spending with their budget.
Also, what about people who have a wedding budget, but then they feel like, okay, the wedding party, the cost of the wedding party has to be part of it. So basically the hair and makeup. What is your opinion about brides paying for their wedding party?
I'll say it's up to the individual. If you have it, if not, why not? If you don't, then you have to be conversant of what people can afford and factor that in. You don't want people to go bankrupt because you put them in your bridal party. It's supposed to be a fun time for your group of friends. So you have to, some things you can gift them, some things maybe they have to make, but it has to be within reason. You don't want people to be upset throughout the wedding because you made them spend money that they didn't have.
Okay. That's right. Laura, do you have any? You agree?
I agree. It's a individual preference. I know some people use that, maybe their makeup and hair as their gift. And I know some people say that I want a specific style for everybody to keep it consistent. So again, it's a preference. Some people think about it, some people don't. And I just take the lead from the bride, especially about when it comes to hair and makeup, because you know your friends. You know what you guys all discussed outside of me. You're just informing me what you want to see in your budget.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you, you need to think a little bit about this. I'll ask you a question, then I'll go first to give you time. Okay. What are the items when it comes to wedding and event planning that you think people forget to budget for? So, you already know.
Gratuities.
Okay. Gratuities for you? Okay.
Taxes. I'll say things like, it depends on the vendor. Like, there's some permits that, you might have to pay for. Things like delivery, because a chair costs $10 each. That doesn't mean it gets into your hall. There are extra charges like delivery fee. There's even a setup fee.
Yes.
Because I can bring the chairs to your hall and drop it. But I'm not going to set it up. There's a setup
and tear down.
Setup, tear down. These are things that people miss. And when you start asking for it, it becomes an issue down the line.
Another thing that I think people also forget is renting of extra equipment. Extra equipment that could be a factor. It may not be something that is all the time. Do you know what another thing that creeps up very easily? Extra mics.
Extra mics, yes.
You know, and it may seem small, but those are the like just it's those little things. Oh, maybe they never really thought that they wanted to print menus. That becomes an extra cost because some people say no, I don't maybe want, but then they as the planning comes together, you now want more menus. You want maybe a personalized table number. I don't want to use the venue anymore. Like so when you make those shifts and changes, those are all factors.
So do you factor in, do you give them a buffer, like a miscellaneous budget?
Yes.
Like, okay, maybe this will be for miscellaneous things that crop up. Yeah.
There
Hidden
should
cost.
be a miscellaneous budget, but like she said, things that you can't even plan miscellaneous for is when your guest count almost doubles, right?
Yes.
So I always say when you're budgeting for a wedding, there are fixed costs. So fixed costs, for example, your photographer is going to charge you whatever they'll charge you, whether it's 2 guests or 200 guests, right? But then there are variable costs, which will go up as your guest list goes up. So you're talking like rentals, even food or rental fee, like the cost for the venue, they'll charge you per head, right? Menu cards, stationaries, those kind of things. The more, if you're renting cutlery, like those variable costs will always go up with your guest count. So that's why you start with a budget and know what your guest count is, because then if your guest count goes up, your budget has to go up with it as well.
So another thing I want to add to that is the vendor meals. Vendor meals, vendor tables.
Don't people feed your vendors? That's a no-brainer.
It's all part of the budget. You know, you go to a venue and they say 200 guests and you have 200 guests. Hello, you've forgotten that there's a videographer coming with a team of 10.
Oh, God.
There's an MC coming, there's a DJ coming with a team of 3. Like, you know, they come hand in hand with the hype man and the drummer, you know. You have to fix this into your budget.
Count them as part of your
Count them as part of your guest, basically.
Well, the good
because
news-
they need a table.
The good news for those who are watching and going, oh my God, the numbers are going up, is if you're doing a sit-down dinner, most venues have a vendor rate, which is not the full 100% that your guest rate is. Okay. Now, if you're doing a buffet, you just have to add that number in. If you're going to have 20 vendors or 10 vendors, that way everybody eats. And add them to your decor count as well, because they have to sit down to eat.
They have to have charger plates and centerpieces, please.
Another thing is that, yes, when you have your numbers, because I find that sometimes it's after the fact, then your numbers jump.
Right.
Those are essential because they're coming to do a service.
Yes.
It hurts my heart when I find that that's something that is not put as part of the numbers, because you have to remember they're going to be there the whole day.
Can you imagine a vendor having to go and grab McDonald's at your wedding? Come on.
They're there the whole day. And that is also part of the conversation you have when you're talking to the venue about your budget. And people should also know that when you're doing your venue, like the venue cost, also remember there are alternative fees for kids. So you need to be on point, on top of it. And just remember that when you have kids, make sure you count them as kids, not as an adult. And that also changes. It changes your cost, your bottom line cost. Sometimes it could be from like 150 to like literally 75. That's a big difference.
It could be 50% or 40% off. Again, every venue has their own rate, so it differs. So you have to ask the right question.
And then some venues will say, no, the cost is all the same because we're still serving them.
Right.
And that tells me
sometimes the venues will do same cost for food, but they will take out the liquor.
Yes, because they know their children, or they will take out also the alcohol for the vendors as well.
Yes. So again, there's so many things to think about here. So one thing that I find that a lot of people forget, or when they see it on my budget sheet, they're like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. Is transportation." They always because they're like, oh, I've done the math. I went to ChatGPT and ChatGPT said this is how I should break down my budget. But you forgot that you're going to get from point A to point B. How you get in there? They forget to plan for transportation. So that's something else that I think people forget. Also, childcare. Well, lately a lot of people are doing adults only, or the child has to be watched by their parents. But many years ago, it was a big thing where they would have a separate room.
Yes.
for
Yeah, I remember
children.
that.
And now, because the cost went up, so people don't do it anymore. But people forget childcare. If you're going to be having a lot of children and you really want to party, and you want to have a room and have a babysitter,
Create a
that's another
space,
cost.
create an activity space for them,
Yeah.
because it also makes them feel part of the event.
Correct.
Not as if they're like, oh, they're just like a handbag that came with their parents. And they and if you can really make it interactive, it says well about that you are being mindful of everybody, that no matter how big or small that those individuals are. But I think I'm surprised transportation is something that individuals will forget.
Some people just think, oh, we'll
They'll
do
drive
that
me,
later.
or my friend will drive me.
do-
They
yeah.
just think of it that way, that it's easy.
Especially in the last 2 years, I've actually I've Ubered couples because it's not something. Again, I'm okay with it.
Yes.
I'm okay with not spending thousands of dollars on transportation, but we have to have a plan.
I'm trying to think what else needs to be part of that budget line that I can't even think of the top of my head.
There's a few coming to mind. Staffing. So a lot of times people say, oh, but the venue is giving us staff.
Yes.
No, the venue is giving you staff to bust their own tables. What that means is to wait on their own tables and serve. But then if you're having a multicultural wedding or cultural wedding where you're having outside food, some caterers actually would cook the food but not actually come. They would drop the food or they drop it off.
Yeah.
You know? And some will show up, but they will charge you for labor.
To elaborate on that, I think also we need to, like, when they have outside caterers, we need to let them know that if you're going to be part of the overall budget, have staff included in your plan.
I think it's better.
It's have it in your, so that it's not because sometimes the bill for staffing is a surprise for the client, because they didn't really think about, the number of people, the number of staff that they would need, and then they see it as a line on its own, and it's like, another sticker shock.
If somebody's cooking and they're coming on site to serve the food, they need staff. Okay? Because the truth is that the venue staff doesn't know that you don't put pounded yam in water, or you don't put something in the warmer, like all those kind of things, right? For me, I just feel it's something that couples overlook. True. Also, service fees. So caterers are now charging service fees because they've charged you for the rice and the chicken and the whatever, but they're going to be on site.
Yes. So what's the service charge?
Yeah.
So there's a service charge.
And if the venue can charge you the service charge, the outside caterer can do the service charge. Because another thing that I found, I think I'm just veering off, is that anytime I go to a venue and they have an experience having outside food, I said, when you are dealing with outside caterers with cultural weddings like ours, please say, when you say staff, you have staff available, emphasize that the staff is for you guys. Yes,
the table.
Yes,
and that's it.
Not to serve.
They're not runners.
They're not
runners. They're not going to fill the shelving dishes.
Or they're not going to serve.
Or they're not going to serve.
Yes. So going back to, if caterers also could start even embedding it, and if they found out later on that they don't need the staff, they can always remove it. But having it as...
They always need the staff.
Yeah.
So let me just say something, how it affects me, because everything we've been talking about is from a planner's perspective.
Right.
So how the budget impacts vendor relationships. You both can talk about this, because you've called me from a planner's perspective. Give me a quote. They don't have money, Give me a quote. Explain yourself.
Okay, so here's the thing. Talking about budgeting for decor, rentals, design, all of that. So again, you have to understand that planners don't know what they don't know. Couples don't know, clients don't know what they don't know, right? So they come to us with this number, this magic number, and they say, my wedding budget is 50,000. And they want everything under the sun within that 50,000. So we as planners, one of the first things we do is we sit down and we break down this 50,000 into a item by line item budget to say, okay, this is how we will spend this 50K. Now, in the event that for decor, it now happens to be, let me just say $8,000 for decor. And this is why we had that episode talking about Pinterest reality versus the budget, right? Sometimes I know that I can't afford more than $8,000 for A and B wedding. However, A and B wants some grandeur, wedding, which maybe the budget will be 20K. So when I ask you for a quote for that grandeur, whatever, what I should be doing is saying, you know what, my budget is $8,000.
Yeah.
And my vision is XYZ. What can you do? That's what I should be saying.
Thank you.
But sometimes.
Please, no, that's what we're talking about. Like, don't come and ask me a quote. And then the next thing is, oh, the quote is too high. It's too expensive. My clients cannot afford it.
Because we're also fighting for our clients.
We just broke down the budget now. She found out that the client could afford 8K.
But at the same time, we're trying to,
Sometimes, again, let me play devil's advocate. I want to know what would it cost for you to produce that? And truly, a lot of clients, they know exactly who they want to use. They're like, oh, I want to use Decor. I want to use ABC Decor. They know exactly, so we're not shopping around. But sometimes the client wants multiple quotes. So I feel like it'll be, sometimes the reason we come to you and we say, this is the vision, we need a quote, without giving you a number, is because we want to be fair, right?
Because you're asking the same
question to everybody and sending the same request for the same RFQ to everybody. Yes. Again, if I know for sure that I want to use XYZ and my budget is 8K, I should be telling you. So that we are designing it from scratch together. Yes. But if it's more, listen, unlimited budget, this is the vision.
I like those.
And and there's four decorators that we can use.
Yes.
Please send in your quotes.
Yeah. Would you say that should also apply to other vendors, saying this, like example, for MC, this is how much I have budgeted? Are you able to do it for that rate?
I think the MC example, the good thing is most MCs have their rate card, right? You already know what they cost. I'm going to be honest, I'm guilty of this, and I know the MCs that are watching will know that it's true. So let's say their rate card says $1,000. And I already know that A and B couple, based on the budget, my budget is 800. And I really want that MC. I'll still go to you. I will still call you because I really want you. I know you will match the energy. I know you're going to be perfect. But I'm not going to come to you and now be like, oh, I'll be like, listen, I know your price is 8,000.
Yes.
This is what I have.
Yes.
And if that MC is willing to make it work, then good. And if they say no, then I have to respect.
And the reason why I asked that question, that's where that collaboration comes into play again, that fits in. So going back to the overall budget again, when you do the itemization, you go through it, because you can use just a standard percentage, but from experience, you know that prices have changed. This person has gone up by $100. This person is like at this range. And that's the generic, because I create what was a generic budget that I go side by side. Like, this is approximately what you should spend. And then go line by line with the client and use. I still also sometimes find that there is still that battle of themes. And that's why I literally say, what are the three most important things? Because I love numbers and I would like to make the numbers work. And sometimes what I do is, like, if you're saying that if this is my budget, I ask right away, how far can I push? What is your Laura, hello, high water, we're not budging.
Yeah, we're not going past
this is what you've given me between here and here. But if I need to go past the max, what can you really do? So I just put that like on the side, just to say, okay, so we almost like I'm doing a pre-conversation, so that when we have all our numbers, I'm not saying I already have like I'm giving myself a buffer outside of the minimum to the max that I'm working with.
So talking about realistic budgets, have you been in situations where you got a budget, whether it's for decor or for planning, and you really, 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 really want to achieve that vision, but you don't, the client just doesn't have it. What do you do? What have you done to make it happen despite not having the money?
I've created alternatives for them. I always give them options. But I actually had an event where I gave them options with the charger plates. I gave them the acrylic one. We finished setting up and the client saw a picture and said no.
I said they wanted the glass.
I said, you know what, I'm going to
Upgrade.
charge you.
Yeah.
She said upgrade. And
That was it.
immediately we went back to the storage, picked up everything, upgraded right there and then.
Wow. Depending on what the difference is, I have what's called like a discretionary fund. I put into it just regularly because sometimes like you're working with a client and you do see how the working relationship is. Can I tap into my discretionary fund? I have to make sure that we can get that vision.
Discretionary fund.
Yeah.
I call it client gifts.
I know you've done that a lot.
I've done a discretionary fund.
Overlook some.
It's a special account.
This is a gift to the client because it must just happen.
Couples don't know how much heart and work we put in to bring their vision to life. They think, oh, we paid for it. Nah. Sometimes you actually haven't paid for it. We've actually used relationships to source it for you.
That's true.
Or we've actually paid for it on your behalf, or we've gotten certain things discounted so that you can get what you want. You know, so again, do not discount the power of relationships.
It's very important in this industry. I mean, me working, like, a quick question is, how did we even get to sit on this table? It's relationship. I think I worked with her once on a wedding and we became friends. I can't really remember, but it most probably must have been a wedding or something. It's been so long, you know, over 14 years or so. We most probably must have worked on a project together and we formed a relationship, you know, vendor relationship. You know, it's very, very important. It goes a long way. She calls me all the time and she'll say, sis, I know what your, time of working together, they have an idea of what my weddings cost. So they would start the conversation by telling me, it's not, you know, there yet, but what can you do for us? And I'm like, Shebi one, it's you. So, okay, let's make it happen.
And the reason why you do that, that happens, is that you want to, there's another component. You know the right vendor for a client.
Yes.
So when you know this is the right vendor for the client, you do your very best to get that vendor for them. Because if not, it may stir the production of the whole event. And that's why sometimes the cheapest vendor may not be the best vendor for your event. So that is also what sometimes I think we don't share that with our clients as to why. And I think if they understand that, I think that would make a big difference in the conversations. Because look, this is your vision. This is who I know can execute it the way you want it. So if we're finding that their quote might be higher, it is because I know they can do it. But we will go back and see what we can do.
Right.
So I'm going to piggyback on that because people say because we're friends, practically all your events, I'm the decorator. All your events, I'm the decorator. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. We understand each other. I hear comments from her, no, you cannot work on that wedding. And I'm like, why? You want to kill the bride's mother. And we start laughing. Like, she knows my personality. And she's like, oh, you're going to kill me if you work on that. Because I just face my planners and I'm like, you brought me this client. You deal with it. You know, that kind of a thing. So as experienced planner, you know, oh, this style is Decor. This style is vendor A. This style, this will be the best person. So you can, you know, pick and choose. Because we have a relationship doesn't mean that every single event that they do, I have to be involved. I don't have to be involved, but I would know, oh, she's there, she has a wedding. And I'll call her at the end of the day. I hope everything went well. And she could call and be like, oh, I'm having a nightmare or there's a horror story right here. And it'll be like, what can I do to support you? You know, so that's it with collaboration, vendor relationship, budgeting, asking for quotes. I don't know.
Ties together. It literally all ties together.
I also want to add, because I feel like some vendors are going to be saying, talk about responding to court requests, talk about it. So couples, whenever it's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to planning and budgeting and pricing services. And I know that a lot of vendors will appreciate if we get back to them to say, oh, we went with vendor A, we're sorry we didn't book you. Again, we're all guilty on this table because sometimes, life happens and you get busy. But I just want to say it out there for the planners and the, new people in the industry coming up. It's very respectful and important that we respond back when we ask for quotes. Even if you don't book them, just let them know, by the way, we're going a different direction. Thank you for your time. So that way they can release the date to somebody else.
And at the same time, they will pick up the phone next time you call.
Oh, that's right.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
And also clients, when you ask for quotes or you have consultation with me, please let us know that you've gone with another planner. It's okay. A lot of us are friends, so we'll find out anyways.
Yeah.
Let us know because again, a lot of us we kind of put we put a peg. Especially if we really want to work with you, we put a peg on that date for you. And we don't release it. So again, please communicate to your vendors. It will do us a world of good.
Another thing that helps with the budget is that you're talking to certain vendors for a client, but then you find out the client booked another vendor.
Right.
That is not within, so that sometimes can throw the budget off as well. So that's another thing that I think clients should also think about when working with planners. That it's like we're creating this budget, we're working within this budget, but sometimes when you veer off, but you can veer off, but you please bring us along so that we know where to shift and we're not trying to fit a circle in a square peg. Yeah.
Or how about then calling vendors directly?
Yes.
Without carrying you.
Bring us along. Because again, we want to make sure we're working within your budget.
Correct.
And it be realistic. Because you don't want to be planning an event and then sometimes you just put the budget aside because everything has just gone array. Why did we create it? We create the budget as a template and to guide us in sourcing people for your event. Because the last thing I would want a client to do is go over budget by $20,000 because we're not being careful and mindful.
Talking about budgets, this will be another topic, so stay tuned for another episode, but we're going to be talking about photography and videography specifically because a lot of times you want me to go with vendor A because you think vendor A is $2,000 cheaper or $500 cheaper than vendor B, but you're not reading the fine print because vendor B is giving you 12 hours or 10 hours of the day. And that's why they're charging you that premium. Also, vendor B is coming with two assistants, a lighting assistant. The value is so precious. And that's what we planners see. And we want that. We want excellence. So yes, we might be recommending you go with a $500 more vendor. It's because of the quality that vendor is bringing. So sometimes budget is not just about line item. It's also about the value that vendor is bringing to the table.
Look at the context of the service.
Yeah.
And then equate it.
Correct.
That's why sometimes when with planners, with decorators, we give you a baseline to be able to work with to give us a quote.
That's right.
And not say color orange and then say color blue for same services but two different services.
That's right. Wow. So a lot to pack, to unravel in this episode about budgeting. Yeah. And there's still so much to come. But we want to just take a moment to say thank you to all our viewers, all our listeners. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey with Inside Events Podcast. We appreciate you for being here. Please continue to like, share, and follow our journey.
And subscribe.
Yes, and subscribe as well, okay? And of course, if you found this very insightful, very educational, we would love your support in any way. If you're a vendor and you would like to showcase your work or something, sponsor us in one way or the other. I hope you like our fits. If you would like to style us, anything, we would appreciate your support. And for our listeners, if you have questions or contributions, feel free to send us an email. Use the email below. We would love to hear from you and would respond as well. Thank you so much for being here. See you on the next episode.
Bye.